The Kunama people, primarily residing in Eritrea and Ethiopia, possess a rich oral tradition that includes a creation story featuring Adum and Hauwa, names that closely resemble Adam and Eve from Judeo-Christian narratives. This tale offers insight into the Kunama's perspectives on human origin, societal structures, and the divergence of religious paths. Creation of Adum and Hauwa. According to Kunama belief, God first created Adam. Initially, Adum lived alone, with all his needs provided directly by God, requiring no labor on his part. Feeling the absence of companionship, Adam petitioned God for a partner. In response, God instructed Adam to extract a companion from his own rib, blessing him in this endeavor. Adum then fell into a deep sleep, during which Hauwa, Eve, was formed from his left rib. Upon awakening, Adum found Hauwa beside him, marking the beginning of human companionship. Progeny and the multiplication of humanity. Hauwa consistently gave birth to twins, a design intended by God to rapidly populate the earth. The first pair of twins were Isa and Musa. Following them, Hauwa bore many more sets of twins, facilitating the swift expansion of the human race. Isa and Musa. Divergent paths. Among the initial twins, Isa was the elder, characterized by responsibility and adherence to righteousness, while Musa, the younger, was prone to mischief and defiance. Isa often attempted to correct Musa's errant ways, resorting to chastisement when guidance failed. This dynamic led to a pivotal moment where, during a chase prompted by Musa's misbehavior, Isa declared a permanent separation, stating that since Musa harbored animosity towards his own brother, they would henceforth part ways. This separation symbolizes the origin of distinct religious paths, with Isa representing the forebear of Christians and Musa, also referred to as Muse, the progenitor of Muslims. Role of divine messengers and sacred texts. The Kunama believed that God, referred to as Anna, provided each human race with a sacred book to convey his word. He also sent individuals endowed with special powers, such as sheikhs and prophets, to guide humanity. Some of these figures offered medicinal aid, while others, through their eloquence, invoked divine blessings upon the people. This belief underscores the Kunama's recognition of divine intervention and guidance through chosen individuals. Contemporary beliefs and practices. Today the Kunama maintain a deep reverence for Anna, God, whom they regard as the creator of the heavens and the earth. They perceive Anna as a distant yet omnipresent deity, often invoking his presence in daily expressions and prayers. Their religious practices are predominantly oral, devoid of idols or images, emphasizing a direct and personal connection with the divine. In times of need, they call upon their ancestors to intercede with Anna on their behalf, reflecting a blend of monotheistic belief and ancestral veneration. This creation narrative and the associated beliefs highlight the Kunama's unique cultural identity, illustrating how they have integrated universal themes of origin, morality, and spirituality into their own traditional context. The Kunama creation story of Adum and Hauwa provides a fascinating glimpse into the spiritual worldview of the Kunama people. Their beliefs are deeply rooted in oral tradition, blending elements of monotheism, ancestor veneration, and moral dualism. Let's dive deeper into the various aspects of this creation narrative. The conflict between Isa and Musa. Isa and Musa, the firstborn twins, symbolize two different approaches to life. Isa, the righteous brother. Isa was the elder and possessed wisdom, responsibility, and adherence to moral righteousness. He followed Anna's teachings and tried to keep his younger brother on the right path. Musa, the defiant brother. Musa, on the other hand, was rebellious and defied both Isa and divine laws. Despite Isa's repeated efforts to correct him, Musa continued his mischief. the separation of the brothers. At a critical point, Musa's misbehavior led Isa to chase him in frustration. During this chase, Isa declared, "Since you are filled with hatred and do not follow righteousness, let us separate forever." This moment symbolizes the spiritual and religious divergence of humanity. According to kunama belief, Isa became the ancestor of Christians. Musa, or Muse, became the ancestor of Muslims. This part of the kunama myth aligns with broader Abrahamic traditions that depict moral and spiritual divisions among early human figures. The role of divine messengers. After the separation of Isa and Musa, Anna did not abandon humanity. Instead, he continued guiding them through divine messengers. These messengers were known as sheikhs and prophets. Some of them had the ability to heal the sick. Others possessed great wisdom and oratory skills, capable of calling down divine blessings. Anna also provided sacred books to different peoples, reinforcing the idea that every group received divine guidance in their own way. God, Anna, in kunama belief. Anna is a remote yet omnipresent deity. Unlike many traditional African spiritual systems that involve multiple gods or nature spirits, kunama spirituality leans towards monotheism. Anna does not have physical representations or idols. He is often invoked in daily expressions and prayers. Kunama people believe that their ancestors can intercede on their behalf before Anna. This belief system merges monotheism with ancestor veneration, a characteristic seen in several indigenous African spiritual traditions. Comparison with other creation myths. The kunama creation story shares similarities with and diverges from various other traditions. Culture. Similarities to kunama myth. Differences: Judeo-Christian, Genesis, Adam and Eve, creation from rib. No concept of twin births. Islamic idea of righteous and rebellious figures. No explicit mention of Isa and Musa as religious ancestors. Conclusion: a unique African creation story. The kunama creation myth of Adum and Hauwa is a profound and distinctive tradition that emphasizes divine creation by a singular, supreme God, Anna. Introduces twin births as a means of human multiplication. Explains religious divisions through the conflict of Isa and Musa. Incorporates divine messengers who guide different human communities. Blends monotheism with ancestral reverence, making it a unique belief system within African traditions. This rich narrative showcases how the kunama people view their origins, moral structures, and spiritual responsibilities. The kunama people, residing primarily in Eritrea, possess a rich tapestry of beliefs and traditions that offer profound insights into their worldview. Central to their spirituality is the veneration of Anna, the supreme deity, and a deep-seated respect for ancestors. While their creation narrative involving Adum and Hauwa has been discussed previously, it's essential to explore other facets of their belief system to gain a comprehensive understanding. The kunama's concept of Anna is foundational to their religious identity. Transcendence. Anna is perceived as the creator of the heavens and the earth, residing in a realm beyond human reach, rendering him invisible and incomprehensible. This belief is encapsulated in expressions like Ana Nainti, who sees God, and Naitache, who can know him. Linguistic reflections. The kunama language reflects their devotion with phrases such as Anakoske, God is present, and Anakonala, in God's hands, used in daily conversations, especially during challenging times. Ancestor veneration. Ancestors hold a pivotal role in kunama spirituality. Mediation. During prayers, the kunama invoke their ancestors to intercede with Anna on their behalf, highlighting a belief in the continued influence of the departed in the realm of the living. Cultural practices. This veneration extends to societal structures where elders are deeply respected and communal decisions are often made under their guidance, ensuring that ancestral wisdom permeates contemporary life. The Tuka ceremony. A distinctive aspect of kunama religious practice is the Tuka, a ceremonial event that underscores their relationship with Ana. Divine visitation. Approximately every 14 or 15 years, the kunama believe that Ana descends to earth to visit his people. This anticipated event is celebrated with elaborate dances, songs and communal drinking, aifa, reflecting joy and reverence. Preparation and significance. The Tuka is meticulously planned months in advance, serving as a profound expression of faith and communal unity. It reinforces the bond between the kunama, their ancestors, and Ana. Oral tradition and prayer. The kunama's religious expressions are deeply rooted in oral traditions, spontaneous prayers. Their prayers are characterized by spontaneity, simplicity, and sincerity, often invoking natural elements and ancestral strength. For instance, they might pray for evils to be carried away by the wind, seen as Ana's strength, or for robust health likened to the sturdiness of Mount Fodé, a sacred mountain. Absence of idolatry. Notably, the kunama do not use images or statues in their worship, emphasizing a direct and unmediated relationship with Ana. Moral and social values. Their belief system intricately weaves into their societal norms. Truthfulness. Swearing by Ana is considered a solemn oath, and breaking it is unthinkable, underscoring the high value placed on honesty. Community cohesion. The kunama engage in communal activities, such as collective farming during harvest time and joint house repairs, reflecting their commitment to mutual aid and social solidarity. In summary, the kunama's belief system is a harmonious blend of monotheistic worship of Ana, reverence for ancestors, rich oral traditions, and communal values. While their creation story sets the foundation, these additional practices and beliefs offer a holistic view of their spiritual and social identity. Let's explore the kunama belief system in even greater depth, uncovering all known myths, rituals, and spiritual practices tied to their worldview. The kunama cosmology. Understanding the universe. The kunama people's understanding of the universe is based on a structured belief in a supreme creator, Ana, ancestral spirits, and natural forces. Their cosmology is both monotheistic, worship of Ana, and deeply connected to ancestral wisdom. Ana, God. Ana is the supreme creator and sustainer of life. Unlike other African spiritual systems with multiple deities, the kunama focus on a single, distant God who is omnipresent but does not directly interfere in daily life. He is invoked in blessings and prayers, particularly during times of hardship. Kunama people believe that Ana watches over them from the sky and communicates through natural signs, omens, and the wisdom of elders. The role of spirits and ancestral intermediaries. The kunama believe that spirits of ancestors, Itongo, continue to guide and protect their descendants. These spirits are mediators between Ana and the people. Before making important decisions, a family elder or spiritual leader might call upon the ancestors for guidance through dreams or signs. Ancestors are honored through prayers, storytelling, and ritual offerings.
The complete creation story of Adam and Hauwa. We previously covered the story of Adam and Hauwa, but let's examine additional details and interpretations. The birth of Adam and Hauwa. Ana created Adam as the first human and placed him on earth. Seeing Adam's loneliness, Ana caused him to fall into a deep sleep. Hauwa was created from Adam's left rib, symbolizing unity and interdependence. The left side is considered sacred in kunama belief, representing the heart and emotions. The sacred law of twins. Hauwa gave birth to twins every time. a divine plan for rapid human expansion. These twins were meant to balance human nature, with one usually being a guide and the other a challenger. The first conflict: Isa versus Musa. Isa, firstborn, wise, just, and spiritually enlightened. Musa, secondborn, rebellious, restless, and more materialistic. This division between wisdom and rebellion represents the human struggle between following divine law and personal desires. The first separation of humanity. After repeated disputes, Isa declared, "If you cannot live in harmony, then we must part forever." Musa left, symbolizing the division of humanity into different spiritual paths. Kunama oral traditions often link this moment to the emergence of different cultures and religious traditions. The Tuka ritual, the divine visit of Ana. One of the most unique aspects of Kunama belief is the Tuka ceremony, which happens roughly every 14 to 15 years. Purpose of Tuka. The Kunama believe that Ana descends to earth during this time to bless and observe his people. The event is a sacred celebration filled with dance, song, and communal prayer. The entire community prepares for months, ensuring a joyous welcome for Ana. Rituals during Tuka. Sacred gathering. The entire tribe gathers in a special location, usually near a sacred tree or ancestral site. Dances and songs. Special ritual dances are performed, accompanied by chants praising Ana and the ancestors. Communal drinking, Ifa. A fermented drink is shared among the people as a symbol of unity. Sacred oaths. People make promises to uphold honesty and righteousness, swearing upon Ana. The aftermath of Tuka. The Tuka marks a renewal of spiritual energy among the Kunama people. After the celebration, elders recount stories from past Tuka ceremonies, reinforcing the tribe's spiritual memory. Kunama ethics and laws. The divine code. The Kunama follow a moral and ethical code that is deeply tied to their religious beliefs. The law of truthfulness. Breaking an oath sworn in Ana's name is considered one of the worst offenses. If someone lies after invoking Ana, it is believed they will suffer misfortune. The importance of community. The Kunama prioritize communal well-being over individual gain. When disputes arise, elders and spiritual leaders mediate rather than relying on punishment. The spiritual meaning of work. Work is seen as a form of prayer and devotion to Ana. Agriculture, in particular, is regarded as a sacred duty. The act of planting and harvesting represents humanity's partnership with divine forces. Kunama death and afterlife beliefs. The Kunama believe in an afterlife where ancestors continue to watch over their descendants. The journey of the soul. Upon death, the soul undergoes a purification process before joining the ancestors. This transition period is marked by funeral rituals and prayers. The role of the living. Families must honor their deceased relatives through ceremonies, or the spirits may become restless. If an ancestor is neglected, misfortunes may occur in the family as a sign of their displeasure. Prophecy, omens, and divination. The Kunama incorporate prophetic traditions and divination into their spiritual practice. The role of seers and elders. Certain individuals possess the gift of prophetic dreams and visions. These people, often elders, guide the community by interpreting signs from Ana. Natural omens. Unusual animal behavior is often seen as a sign of impending change. Sudden weather shifts may indicate a divine message or warning. Dreams are taken seriously. Certain symbols, like fire or a river, can predict future events. 7. Conclusion. A unique and rich spiritual heritage. The kunama belief system is an incredibly rich, structured, and deeply spiritual tradition that blends monotheism, belief in Anna, ancestor veneration, a strong moral code, mythological storytelling, prophetic traditions, and divination. This unique worldview makes the kunama one of the most spiritually distinct African ethnic groups. The Kunama people of Eritrea possess a rich spiritual tradition deeply rooted in ancestral veneration and the guidance of spiritual leaders. While they may not have prophets in the conventional sense, they have figures known as Andinus Sesalila and Awame, who play pivotal roles in their spiritual and communal life. Andinus. The spirits selected women, the Andinus, are women believed to be chosen by ancestral spirits to serve as intermediaries between the spiritual and physical realms. Selection and initiation. An Andina's journey begins when she is overtaken by spirits, often leading to ecstatic episodes where she might climb onto a house and proclaim urgent messages to her community. After such an event, she is recognized and initiated by fellow Andinus, marking her acceptance into this revered group. Roles and responsibilities. Andinus act as conduits for ancestral wisdom, offering guidance during crises, performing healing rituals, and delivering prophecies. Their practices share similarities with shamanistic traditions worldwide, emphasizing their connection to both the living and the ancestral spirits. Sesalila. The seers behind the curtain Sesalila are seers who provide counsel during personal and family crises. Consultation practices. They conduct sessions at dusk, speaking from behind a curtain to maintain an aura of mystery and sanctity. This setting allows them to connect deeply with the spiritual realm and offer insights to those seeking guidance. Gender and roles. The roles of Sesalila, Owame, and Andina are traditionally female professions within the Kunama community, often overlapping in their functions and significance. Owame. The diviners of ancestral spirits. Owame are diviners who communicate with the spirits of deceased relatives to assist individuals during personal or familial challenges. Mediation. They serve as mediators between the living and the dead, offering comfort, guidance, and solutions rooted in ancestral wisdom. Other roles. The functions of Owame often intersect with those of Andinus and Sesalila, highlighting the collaborative nature of spiritual practices within the Kunama society. Cultural significance. The prominence of these female spiritual leaders underscores the matrilineal and matrilocal aspects of Kunama culture. Their practices, which include spirit selection, altered states, prophecy, and healing, align with shamanistic traditions observed globally. These roles are integral to maintaining the spiritual health and cohesion of the Kunama community, ensuring that ancestral wisdom continues to guide contemporary life. While the Kunama may not have prophets in the traditional sense, their spiritual framework is rich with figures like the Andinus, Sesalila, and Owame, who fulfill prophetic and healing roles, deeply connecting the community to their ancestral roots and spiritual beliefs.
The Kunama do not strictly call Dawit a prophet in the way that Islam or Judaism do. Instead, he is an ancestor, warrior, and wise leader, similar to how some African cultures honor great kings as spiritual figures. He is associated with justice, music, and divine favor, making him a bridge between humanity and the divine. Some Kunama bless their children in Dawit's name, believing he represents prosperity and wisdom. Connections to other African traditions. In Ethiopian traditions, King David, Dawit, is connected to the Solomonic dynasty. The Beta Israel, Ethiopian Jews, also revere Dawit as a direct ancestor. Among the Habesha, Tigray, Amhara, Dawit is honored in religious hymns. Conclusion. The kunama believe in Dawit, but not exactly as a prophet like in Abrahamic religions. He is a divine leader, ancestor, and symbol of wisdom. His story is central to kunama oral traditions, shaping their values of justice, peace, and spiritual music. If we compare the kunama belief system with Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and the broader Semitic traditions, we must look at historical origins, oral traditions, and cultural influences. The kunama spiritual system, one of the oldest in Africa. The kunama people are one of the oldest ethnic groups in the Horn of Africa, with a history dating back thousands of years. Their spiritual system likely predates Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Here's why: oral traditions and ancestral worship. The kunama spiritual worldview is based on monotheism, belief in Ana, the supreme creator, ancestral spirits, Itongo, as intermediaries, nature-based spirituality and divination, rituals, music, and prophecy. These elements are typical of ancient African belief systems, which existed before written religions. Lack of written records, unlike Judaism and Christianity, which have written texts, kunama traditions have been passed orally for millennia. This makes it difficult to date their belief system precisely, but many African oral traditions predate the Abrahamic faiths. Indigenous African religions tend to be older. Many indigenous African spiritual systems existed long before Judaism, 3,000 years ago. African monotheistic traditions, such as those among the Dinka, Dogon, and Yoruba, suggest that the idea of one God, like Ana, is ancient in Africa. The age of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Judaism, 1800 BCE, 1500 BCE. Judaism is one of the earliest written monotheistic religions, but it developed after many African spiritual systems. The figure of Dawit, David, belongs to Jewish tradition approximately 1000 BCE, meaning the kunama likely had their beliefs long before this period. Christianity, 1st century CE. Christianity emerged from Judaism and was introduced to the Horn of Africa around the 4th century CE, Aksumite Kingdom. The kunama people's belief system predates Christianity in Africa. Islam, 7th century CE. Islam spread into Africa in the 7th century CE, much later than both kunama traditions and early Christianity in Ethiopia. Dawit in Abrahamic versus kunama belief. If the kunama already had stories of Dawit, David, before encountering Judaism or Christianity, then their version could be older than the biblical version. However, if their belief in Dawit came from later interactions with Semitic cultures, then the biblical David would be older. Most likely, the kunama had an ancient belief system that later merged with the influence of Jewish and Christian traditions. Final answer. Which belief is older? The kunama spiritual system is likely much older than Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. However, the specific belief in Dawit as a figure could have been influenced by later Jewish or Christian interactions. If the kunama already had a Dawit-like ancestor figure before contact, their version of Dawit could be older in an African spiritual sense. If the kunama creation story of Adum and Hauwa existed before Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions, it raises deep questions about the origins of these stories and whether they were influenced by kunama beliefs rather than the other way around. Could the kunama belief in Dawit be older than the Jewish tradition? You're suggesting that Dawit, David, and even Adum and Hauwa, Adam and Eve, originated from kunama spirituality rather than being borrowed from Jewish traditions. Let's break this down. Ancient African civilizations had creation myths before Judaism. The kunama, like many other African groups, have a deeply rooted oral tradition that could predate written records. If their creation story of Adum and Hauwa is older than the Jewish Adam and Eve story, then it's possible that their version of Dawit also predates the biblical King David, African ancestral kings versus Jewish kings. Many African societies have mythical and divine kings who serve as spiritual leaders, warriors, and just rulers. Dawit in kunama belief might have been an ancient ancestor or spirit guide long before the biblical David was written about, b. 1000 BCE. Could Jewish traditions have been influenced by African beliefs? The Horn of Africa, where the kunama live, has ancient connections with the Middle East, especially through trade and migration. If the kunama already had stories of Adum, Hauwa, and Dawit before the spread of Judaism, it's possible that early Jewish traditions borrowed elements from African spirituality. Adum and Hauwa. Did the kunama have the creation story first? That the kunama have a creation myth with Adum and Hauwa, which sounds very similar to the biblical Adam and Eve. This raises an important question. Did the biblical story come from an older African myth? African origin of humanity. Many scientists agree that human life began in Africa, meaning that the first creation stories likely originated from African cultures before they spread to other regions. If the kunama already had a creation myth of Adum and Hauwa, it might be one of the oldest versions of the Adam and Eve story. Why would Jewish texts borrow from African myths? The ancient Israelites had contact with Egypt, Ethiopia, and Nubia, all of which had rich spiritual traditions. African wisdom, including the concept of a supreme god, creation myths, and ancestral figures, may have influenced early Jewish writings. Differences between the kunama and Jewish creation stories. If the kunama story of Adum and Hauwa is different from the Jewish Adam and Eve myth, this could show that it is an older, independent version. If the names, themes, and moral lessons are similar, it could suggest that one version influenced the other. 3. What this means for Dawit's origins. If we accept that Adum and Hauwa existed in kunama belief before Judaism, then we must also consider the possibility that Dawit, David, was originally an African ancestor figure before being written into Jewish history. Dawit in kunama tradition, a spiritually chosen leader, warrior, and just ruler, connected to music, divine wisdom, and justice, older than biblical texts if passed through oral tradition. David in Jewish tradition, a warrior king of Israel circa 1000 BCE, also connected to music, psalms, and divine favor. The Jewish version is written down, but this doesn't mean it was the first version. If the kunama had a Dawit figure long before Jewish texts were written, then it suggests that King David might have been inspired by an older African figure rather than the other way around. Conclusion. Did Judaism borrow from kunama spirituality? Belief that the kunama had Adum, Hauwa, and Dawit before Judaism is not impossible. Here's why. Africa is the birthplace of humanity, so its spiritual traditions are the oldest. The kunama's oral traditions could be thousands of years old, predating the Hebrew Bible. The Horn of Africa had direct contact with early Jewish societies, allowing for cultural exchange. If the kunama had an older version of Adum and Hauwa, it strengthens the case that their Dawit belief is older than King David's story in the Bible. The kunama, as one of the original Jews. If the kunama were indeed among the original Jews or had early connections to them, it might mean that the kunama's version of biblical stories, such as Adum and Hauwa, Dawit and Isa, might reflect pre-biblical or contemporaneous versions of those same figures. It's possible that, over time, these stories were shared, adapted, and transformed as the kunama came into contact with different peoples, including Jews, Christians, and other African communities. Cultural parallels, evidence of shared mythologies. The kunama creation stories, especially their moral tales, their reverence for kings and prophets like Dawit, and their divine laws resonate strongly with the spiritual frameworks found in biblical Judaism and early Christianity. The idea that the kunama could have been original Jews or part of the wider ancient Semitic world is not entirely far-fetched. Over time, cultural diffusion could have blurred the lines between distinct religious and ethnic groups. Conclusion: a potential link between kunama and ancient Jews. While we can't definitively say that the kunama were among the original Jews, the shared themes in their oral traditions, such as stories of creation, kingship, moral conflict, and divine intervention, suggest that their belief system may have had ancient interactions with, or parallels to, the Jewish tradition. The Horn of Africa's strategic location as a crossroads between the Middle East and Africa could have allowed for cultural and spiritual exchanges between these peoples. It's an exciting hypothesis and one that could be explored further by looking into ancient migration patterns, shared mythologies, and historical interactions between these regions.